Week 7, day 3. Today we're going to be going over wages and salary.
Ready?
Wage and salary in general, small firms must be roughly competitive in wage and salary levels in order to attract well-qualified personnel. Compensation based on time is most appropriate for jobs in which performance is not easily measured. Some employers choose to improve the lives of their employees and express their support by paying wages that exceed that legal minimum. Many see an improvement in recruiting and retention. These businesses may also enjoy an improved public image with customers and the community. They can earn a respectable return on their investments and on more than one front. All right. What I want to touch base on when it comes to wages and salary is this is the key right here. Many see an improvement in recruitment and retention. You pay more, you hope to retain, because you don't want to lose that knowledge. You have to retain the knowledge and the training that you have with an employee. Because when you lose an employee, it's going to take a couple of weeks, 2 months, maybe even a year to get another person in place that's producing at the same level of another employer. Then it says these businesses may also enjoy improved public image with customers and the community. Because now you can pretty much go look up at a lot of businesses and check out their reviews. You know, they have a website called Glass Window. So you got to think about this. You go to Glass Window, you can pretty much find out what our current employees and former employees are saying about this company. So you want to have a positive image. You want to have a positive image. You know, sometimes an employee just going to be disgruntled. No matter what incentives, no matter how much increase in wages you give them, they're just always going to be disgruntled. So you all as entrepreneurs, CEOs, you also want to be managers. You have to. That's why it's good to know your employees, because sometimes you might have to let that person go instead of trying to pay them. You might have to just bite the bullet. You know, you don't want to lose. You don't want to lose the knowledge that person have, but it might not be worth it because that person could be bringing down morale and always could be bringing down, also causing conflict within the workplace. They're good, but also they're causing productivity to go down for other employees. Do you want that? Going back to the top, in general, small firms must be roughly competitive in wage and salary levels in order to attract well-qualified personnel. I'm in agreement with that, but also you also have to look at where you're going to open your business at. Where you're going to open your barbershop, where you're going to open your cleaning company, where you're going to open your solar power company, where you're going to open it at. Because if unemployment rate is higher than the national average, then that plays into a company. Those are things that plays into your favor. Just yesterday, I think last night, we was talking about North Dakota, 9.5, over 9% unemployment rate. That's where it's in the United States average is 7.5 or 7.8, one of the two. So therefore, those play into, so you don't have to give high wages, you don't have to give high salary. Those numbers plays into your favor. You have to think about that as well. Compensation based on time is most appropriate for jobs in which performance is not easily measured. Every year the cost of living goes up. So the typical rule of thumb is to have an inflate, whatever if it's a 3.2 inflation in the U.S. economy, they give your employees a 3.2 raise because at least that's the minimum. Normally it's between 3.2 and maybe 6% increase every year. All right, next slide, please. Financial incentives. Incentive plans are designed to motivate employees to increase their productivity. In manufacturing industry, employees are sometimes paid according to the number of units they produce, a practice called piecework. You produce 1,000 units today. You get what? They might give you $100. They might give you if you do 1,000 units that day. They might say at the end of the week, if you can do that, maintain that for 5 days or a week, we give you 100. You know, for them, They satisfying the customers. You're a high performing employee, so they don't mind giving that to you. Just like in some banking, in some banks, they get bonuses. They get a percentage of the new accounts that they open up. They might have to open up, get to 27,000 or get to 57,000 points, and then they turn around and go about it. They do it quarterly as well. So once you reach these points, you turn around, they'll give you $800. They give you $800, $1,500. I've seen some financial reps get $2,000. Incentive plans, they may also involve the use of group incentives and team awards. General bonus or profit sharing plans are especially important for managers. These plans provide employees with a piece of the action and may or may not involve assignment of shares of stock. They are especially important for managers because what a manager is going to do, they're going to drive the employees. So if you are going to give bonuses, make sure you take care of the lower level employees because they're the ones that actually in the trenches, actually on the front line doing the work, as we talked about yesterday. So therefore, if you're going to also show you some of your profit, give incentives, make sure you break it down all the way to the lowest level employee, whether it's a custodian, even them too. Now, going back, it says, in incentive plans, they may also involve the use of group incentives and team awards. This is great. You know what? When I was in the military, I had a sergeant, he always said, if he had enough, if he could hand out enough coins, he can always get the most out of the soldiers. So what that always told me is this: coins doesn't cost a lot. You get a coin for $1, $2, $3. But when you give it to somebody for work that they have done, they go the extra mile. So you might not have to give monetary, but you might give coins, you might give medals, you might just, you know what? How much does a pack of paper cost? What, a couple of dollars? You might just make up some certificates and give to them. You know, perfect attendance. You know, great job of being a high performing employee. You know, and it keeps the morale up and you get most out of them. All right, let's go move on to the next slide. Financial incentives continue. Performance-based compensation plans must be designed carefully if they are to work successfully. Here are some things to remember. Set attainable goals. Include employees in planning. Include employees in planning again because you cannot stress the issue enough to your employees. They want to feel involved. So that's why we have it twice. And then keep updating goals. So it's kind of like, it's kind of like when you're trying to raise money. You got a goal you're trying to get to. So every time you hit a number, you might hit, if you're trying to raise $100,000, you hit 10, you hit 20, you hit 30. You keep updating because you know what? It lets the person know. For instance, yesterday, I got a Rocket Rewards account with Southwest Airlines. And I want to see how far was I from becoming an A-list member. And so therefore, every time I take a flight, once I complete the flight, they always update it. They always update it. So keep it and know it, and it gets me motivated. So keep updating goals. It's very important. Here's your family dental plan. What do you think we're going to talk about now? Benefits, medical benefits. Next, employee benefits. Employee benefits includes payments by the employer for such items as Social Security, vacation time, holidays, health insurance, and retirement compensation. These benefits are what? Expensive. Their cost to many firms to equal to 40% or more of a salary and wage payments. So this is a very touchy subject. Everybody wants health insurance. Everybody wants health insurance. This is one thing I want you all to know. Yes, we have the Obama Health Care Act now, but did you know that you will not, they don't start next year, if you don't have health insurance, that you will not be able to file your taxes? Because they're going to look and see if you have health insurance. If so, you're going to get fined. Remember, Obama said if you don't have health insurance, you will have to pay a fine. Do y'all remember him saying that? Yeah, so they're gonna institute that next year. Not this year, gonna give everybody a break to get used to it. I don't wanna be paying them $2,500 for a fine. Don't quote me on that, but I know it's kind of stiff. So, Blue Cross and Blue Shield, I'm giving you a shout out. Then it says, and retirement compensation. So some jobs they do what you call a matching in 401k. And you know what, as an employer, you get tax incentives for that as well. So by having a 401k, you match your employees, whether it's they put in 2% of their salary, 3%. I don't see something as good as 6%. They put in 6, and how they break. There's different ways you can break it down. Employee can put up to 6% of their salary. You match the first 3% they put in 100%, and then the next 2% could be 75%, and then the following 1% could be 50%. You know, so think about that. It's always ways, and you get tax benefit, and then you get tax benefits on the end. Other expensive guests. You know, I had a friend of mine. Case in point, I had a friend of mine. He's on a law firm. You know, he pays his secretary, his law secretary, $60,000 a year. A third of that, he said he pays over $20,000. No, he said he pays $250,000 a year for his whole law firm in insurance. That is a lot. That is a lot. But know what, people have a right to insurance, and what you can do as an employer, you can offer insurance, but also you can offer to pay maybe $2 to $3 more an hour. And therefore have employees sign a sheet that says they decline health coverage insurance. All right, moving to the next slide. Co-employment agreements. Entrepreneurs can choose to outsource part of the burden of managing employees through an arrangement known as co-employment. Today, an estimated 700 co-employment companies, also known as professional employer organizations, PEOs, assist small businesses with their HR management needs. For a fee of 2 to 6% of payroll, a PEO writes paychecks, takes care of payroll taxes, and files reports required by the government agencies. In most cases, the entrepreneur will still determine who works, who gets promoted, and who gets time off. So this 2 to 6% takes care of your medical, takes care of your Social Security you got to pay in, the federal taxes. In some states, they have state taxes. The state, that 2 to 6% will cover all of that. If you just use this company right here, if you use a PEO company, that's basically what it is. So basically, you don't have the headache of having to deal with Social Security, Medicaid, and federal or state taxes. You're basically outsourcing all of that to another company. In return, they're going to charge you 2 to 6%. So that means something that you look at, because the IRS is going to want their money for taxes. Pay your taxes. When you open your businesses, pay your taxes. I mean Wesley Snipes, one of my favorite actors. 3 years. You want to get out to this year? Man, gosh.
How many? For 3 years?
Yes. 2 years, and he had to do 3 years. I'm tired of watching New Jack City and Brooklyn's Finest. You know, I'm tired of watching those shows. Those movies. I'm ready to see some new Wesley Snipes, one of my favorite actors. You know, Ronald Isley? Same thing happened to him. Had to go. He didn't pay his taxes. Yes, I think he went and did 10 months. No, check find it. Pay your taxes. You know, basically pay your taxes. You know, TMZ.com got a whole list of people who owe Uncle Sam money. Pay them. The one Uncle Sam was going to do is they're gonna let you're gonna get away this year, all right? They ain't send me no letter. Then you do it 2 years. Then on your 3rd year, now you may owe 30 to 60,000. But what if you don't have that in the bank because your business was doing bad that year? You know?
What's the reason why these people aren't paying their taxes?
That's their personal reason. They just not paying them. If you don't pay your taxes this year, they're gonna send you a letter. That's what they're gonna do. If you don't pay your taxes this year, they're gonna turn around and send you. They might not send you a letter this year. It may be 2 to 3 years later. But it won't be right now. So people get away with it. You know, people get away with it. Co-employment agreements continue. The law holds both companies responsible for payment of payroll taxes and workers' compensation insurance and compliance with government regulations. The client company cannot simply offload these obligations. So what they're saying is, you don't outsource your obligations, but it's not their responsibility to pay those taxes. So you still need to make sure that those taxes are getting paid, so you don't end up in prison. Federal. When you are choosing a PEO, we recommend that you follow the guidelines offered by the what? National Association of Professional Employer Organizations, to be sure that the company is honest, dependable, and what? Right for your company. The worst thing you would hate to happen is 6 months go down the line and you know, and you paying this company, but then all of a sudden, one day you just decide to go look at their reviews, and you notice that people been having problems with it, they've been taking people money, and then you hate for the company to close down their door. Make sure you're dealing with a reputable company that has a good reputation. Also, that you can call other businesses. They can say, hey, you know what, you can call this business for our reference. And I say choose a business. If you're going to go that route, when you call a business, check upon their reference, choose somebody that you're familiar with, because they might give you a list of references that might just be fronts. So we're going to move to the next slide. Legal protection of employees. All right. Employees are afforded protection by a number of federal and state laws. One of the most far-reaching statuses is the Civil Rights Act, originally enacted in 1964, and its amendments. This law, which applies to any employer of 15 or more people, prohibits discrimination on the basis of race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. So if you have 15 or more people, this law applies to you. If you have 14 or less, then what does not apply to you? As far as it doesn't, but I say it does. The reason why I recommend that it does still, even if you have 14 or less, because you can still get sued. You can still get sued. So do not discriminate against race, color, religion, sex, national origin. So if you like to crack nasty jokes, keep your nasty jokes at home when you got women around with me. Keep nasty jokes away. Sex is not made for the workplace, it's made for the, that's personal. Religion, same. Color, when it came too far too long. We talked about diversity earlier this week. Keep it diversity. Y'all, keep it professional. Race, same. If it's not about the job, in retrospect, if it's not about the job, then why be talking about it? Because at the end of the day, you're not there to promote national origin, sex, religion, color, race. You're there to do for productivity for the job that you hired. Also, and remember, as bosses, you have to be mindful of conversations that go on in your environment. Because if you got two employees and one feels that they have been discriminated, and they turn around and do a lawsuit, they're going to sue you, that employee, and your company. So if you know about it, put an end to it. And also, just say no to bullying. Next slide. The Civil Rights Act includes protections against sexual harassment, an issue that must be addressed by small business as well as large corporations. The following practical action steps have been expressly recommended for small companies. Establish clear policies and procedures regarding sexual harassment in the workplace. Require employees to report incident of harassment to management immediately. Investigate any and all complaints of sexual harassment fairly and thoroughly. Take appropriate action against violators and maintain claimant confidentiality. If a lawsuit is likely to be filed, contact an attorney. What I would like to add also is harassment. If one of your employers files a complaint, let's say one of your favorite employees, don't get caught up in it. Take these steps, but also don't lash out against the ones out. Don't try to discourage that person from going forward with this complaint. Do not do that. Do not do. That's why it says be fairly. Just because somebody's filed a complaint, don't make the work environment hostile. When you make them feel that you're retaliating against them for filing, because now you're violating their rights as a worker. Next slide. Employees' health and safety are protected by what the Occupational Safety and Health Act of 1970. Compensation of employees is regulated by the minimum wage and overtime provisions of the Fair Labor Standards Act. If they're people want to get paid. That's what I'm talking about. People want to get paid. You might be working on overtime. What I would recommend is you give them time off. They work overtime. If you give them time off, or you pay them. You pay them time and a half. Time and a half. Let's not, no sweatshops. No sweatshops. The Family and Medical Leave Act requires firms with 50 or more employees allow workers as much as 12 weeks of unpaid leave for childbirth, the adoption of a child, or other specified family needs. The worker must have been employed by the firm for 12 months and have worked at least 1,250 hours. Simple. If somebody want to put in what it was, FMLA, you can deny it, and you can deny it, but why deny it? They're going to take off anyway. Go ahead and do it. Go through a temp agency, get somebody temporarily while that person is gone. Hopefully the person gives you time. So hopefully they give you time to where, hopefully they give you time to hire somebody else and maybe they can train that person. Some companies are against FMLA, some are not. If a person want to take off for whatever reason, give it to them. It's unpaid leave. Give it to them. Get a temp in.
But it has to be set up like that in the business, right?
Yeah. This is for people with 50 or more employees. Shucks. If I got 5 employees, I give a person FMLA. Cool. You know what I mean? Especially that person, I give it to them. I'm moving on to the next one. You don't necessarily, they say, they say 50 more employees, you can still apply those same practices with yours. You can still, one thing you're doing is basically guaranteeing that person's job when they come back within the unspecified time of the FMLA. You got, just like with the employee, sexual discrimination harassment. The law only pertains to 15 more employees. But why not practice it with 1 or 14 employees? That's all. The management systems, regulating employee relationships. The management system of small companies are typically less formal than those of larger firms. As a personnel are added, however, the benefits of informality decline and its costs increase. Large number of employees cannot be managed effectively without some system for regulating employee relationships. Some employee issues should be regulated from the very beginning. On the other hand, excessive regulation can become paralyzing. What I mean by it can become paralyzing, it means it can cripple the growth of the company. It can cripple the possible bonding that co-workers have, that managers have with their employees. Because basically, what this reminds me of right here, what this basically is what's the word? It's a word, management, it's a type of management style.
Dictatorship?
Not necessarily a dictator, but like when somebody constantly over you watching your every step.
Oh, micromanage.
Micromanagement, that's it. That's what this reminds me of, micromanagement. In micromanagement style, do you get the results that you do? Yes, but you kill innovation. And when you kill innovation, is your company going to grow? Are you going to retain? Earlier we talked about retaining and losing talent. Micromanagement style does cause people to leave. Effective performance review programs typically bear certain traits. They are guided by clearly established goals that are smart, that is specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-bound. That's what it stands for. Smart, what, specific? Be specific when you establish your goals. How measurable? They should be measurable, they should be achievable, realistic, and time-bound. Just like right now, if I say, guess what? Somebody, if I was in the military, shucks, and they tell me I need to I gotta run my 2 miles in 8 minutes, Okay, they were specific. Is it measurable compared to other athletes? Yes. Is it achievable? It is achievable, but I don't think it's realistic and a time bound. I don't think so either. So that one right today, that will not be able to happen. Moving on to the next slide. The need for an HR manager. As a small company grows in size, its personnel problems will increase in both number and complexity. The owner of a growing business must decide whether circumstances make it profitable to employ a personal specialist. Conditions such as the following may mean it's time to hire an HR manager. There are a substantial number of employees, 100 plus. I'll show you, I'm like this, if you get to 30 plus, you might need to get you an HR manager. So if you need to get to 15. Employees are represented by a union. Why did you let a union come in your company anyway? The labor turnover rate is high. You got issues within your management. You need to shake up the tree. You know, we watched Hooters yesterday, the undercover boss. You don't want to be like who?
Scooter?
Scooter. You don't want to be like Scooter.
Oh, Jimbo.
Jimbo. That's it, Jimbo. Yeah, there we go, Jimbo. They don't want to be like Jimbo, having employees do profound things, disgraceful things just to get off, leave work early. The need for skilled or professional personnel creates problems in recruitment or selection. Supervisors or operative employees require considerable training. What this saying is you got employees that are in operations and then you got supervisors, but they need a lot of training. So obviously what it's saying, well, it's time to hire HR manager because you don't lost your as a boss, as a CEO, entrepreneur, you don't lost your insight on what to hire, on who to hire. When the screen, we talked about the screen through the interview, you're gonna lose, just hand it over to somebody. Let's give it up. Employee morale is unsatisfactory. This is big. Unsatisfactory, employee morale. If I know one thing, if our morale was down when I was in the military, if our morale was down, we only gave about 50 to 60%. We don't even give 80 to 100. We do a very minimum to get the job done. It's kind of like a soldier that's ready to get out the army and he saw spelling his PT test, so he just do just enough. You know, I like that about the army. They have their standard. You got your army-wide standard, what to pass the test, but you always have that first sergeant at the unit level that has his own standard. Is that still like that? Yeah. And so a lot of times when a person ain't passing their PT test, they just ready to go home. Their morale is low.